Okay, I'm excited to introduce Shelly Jo Wahlstrom and tell you a little bit about her. She is a certified hypnotherapist. She has a master's degree, and she also is certified in, I believe it's addiction and mental health coaching. Okay. So she is a dedicated hypnotherapist and founder of HypnoAmino's nutritional supplements. Inspired by her daughter's battle with addiction, Shelly Jo has helped over 28,000 people improve, that is an amazing number, improve brain health and reduce cravings, anxiety, and depression. She authored bestsellers Feed Your Brain, Change Your Life, and From Crazy to Calm, and launched a certified hypnotherapy school. And she's as a leader in addiction recovery, Shelly Jo lives boldly, inspiring others through her work, family, and nearly 40 years of marriage.
A long time.
Ah, it's impressive. So I'm excited to see how you're going to connect all the dots. We should mention also that you're a contributor to 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain Chemistry in the fourth edition. So that was a great addition to that version of my
Thank
book.
you. Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yes,
All
it is
right, guys.
seen.
So
It's
let's get started.
beautiful.
Rewire to thrive. Balance your brain chemistry naturally. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm excited to have you here. When you get to the root of the problem goes away. But when you don't, the problem persists. I want to teach you some live it, learn it, and to share it. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try, you still feel anxious and unfocused, stressed, stuck in limiting beliefs, and you turn to sugar, starches, alcohol, and other addictive substances and behaviors just to cope? Are you tired of struggling to find answers, chasing symptoms and solutions that don't work, leaving you feeling frustrated and defeated, and just wanting to feel normal again? And it is possible. So think about, what is your why? Now, just like Cristine just said, these are all the things that make me who I am. However, 7 years ago, I would have never seen this, because 7 years ago, all I was doing was trying to keep my daughter alive. I lived in complete fear. Well, what is my why? I'm a mother. And many of you out there are also mothers. And these 6 words, I just want to feel normal, rocked my world. This is my personal story, my own wake-up call. My cute little daughter at age 6 was diagnosed with anxiety, and I did what all moms did at the time. I got her on some medication, thinking, yep, got her on medication, and some counseling, thinking, well, you know what? We did it. We did what we were supposed to do, and now she can be free from anxiety. Until she came to me at age 15 in tears and said those words to me: Mom, I'm tired of being a doctor of science project. I just want to feel normal. I just want to feel normal. And I thought we had done everything we could to help her to just feel normal. And unfortunately, my daughter turned to alcohol and marijuana just to feel normal. I didn't understand that world. I thought that, why would you want to ruin your life? Stop ruining your life. Got her through school, and thought, we're going to take care of this. Put her in a rehab center because they promised that she'd come out clean from alcohol and marijuana. She did. She came out free from alcohol and marijuana, but she came out addicted to sugar, caffeine, and tobacco. And I'm thinking, well, at least they're legal. And we've won. We can move forward. Addiction passed. Until 30 days later, my beautiful daughter was introduced to meth, which is the drug of the devil. It changed every part of her. And I lived in fear. I'm going to lose my daughter. She's going to kill somebody. She's going to hurt me. She's going to end up in jail. And you know what? The first time she went to jail, I was actually relieved, because I thought for the first time, I know where my daughter's at. And being naive, I thought, well, at least if I went to jail, I'd never have to go back. Now, the interesting thing is, we put her in that rehab center and paid $24,000. So it's almost like I got to pay $24,000 for my daughter to find math. Each time she left my house, I was in fear that I would lose her. She didn't just go to jail once or twice, 3 times. She actually went 4 times. I don't have the 4th mugshot. I don't even know where it's at. But after her 4th one, I watched this. I watched how she would white knuckle up. Mom, I just want to stay clean. I don't want to use drugs and alcohol. I'm going to do this. This time it's going to be for real. And I'd watch her. Hold on. Just white knuckling it. And then she'd relapse and end up in jail. So after her 4th time of going to jail, I did the only thing I could do, and that was pray. Please, Heavenly Father, God, help me find an answer. And I was introduced to, I watched a show about how they were using amino acids in a rehab center. And they were using them through an IV. So there were specific ones that go into the brain that can feed the brain. And I was like, that's my answer. But it's $1,000 a day. And I thought, can I have a different answer? Ooh, right? So I did the next best thing. Dear Dr. Google, please help me find a rehab center that actually uses amino acid supplements and not buy a IV. I found one. They were in Florida. I called and said, look, I think that this is the answer. Because first of all, I am a certified hypnotherapist, and I have clients who they have the desire to make a change. I don't know if any of you guys are practitioners and can relate to this, but they have the desire. They come, I work with them, and after the session, I'm like, hey, yeah, that was a great session. And then they come back next week, and it's like I hadn't done anything. So I do it again. Yes, this is amazing. And all of a sudden, come back again. It's like a revolving door. It's like 51st states. And that's when I was like, there's got to be an answer. And I said, also, my daughter is in addiction. What can you teach me about amino acid therapy? And he's like, I can teach you everything. But in 2 weeks, we have training in Salt Lake City. And it's there that I started to learn. How can I help my daughter? What is it about the brain I do not understand? Now, not everybody's a hardcore addict in addiction. But I actually got angry because I'm like, why didn't I know this stuff when my daughter was 6? Had I known it when she was 6, she may not have turned to drugs and alcohol at age 15. And that anger made me want to make a difference. To help that mom who has that 6-year-old who's just struggling and doesn't have answers. Or that little teenage girl or boy who is so addicted to their phone and everything's coming from here, and their self-esteem is low and they're afraid of the world, and that adult who's just white knuckling it. And that's my thought. I want this information to get out to help people. So I have a solution. I created a science-based, results-driven program that has helped over 30,000 now children, teens, and adults get to the root of anxiety, cravings, and stress to not only finally feel normal naturally, but to thrive and to live the life that they've always wanted to do. And then I also teach practitioners and purpose-driven individuals how to create these same results and to create a program that helps people, heals people, and creates a successful, fulfilling career. You interested? Let's get started. It looks like this, guys. First of all, live up. We've got this body, and we got a brain, we got a body, and we have emotions. When you hit all three of those areas, it creates optimal health. So what I'm going to teach you is how to feed your brain, fuel your body, and free your emotions. Because when one of the areas struggles, life feels off. When you can strengthen all three, then life flows again. Let's go. So I want you to learn it. First of all, I'm going to have you take a quiz. So get your phones out. And if you don't have, and if you can, you're going to click on the QR code. The quiz has 4 questions. It doesn't take very long, guys. I'm serious. It'll take you less than 45 seconds. This is a quiz. Here you go, hypnoaminos.com. This is what it looks like. Super easy. Could amino acids be your missing link? Well, let's just see. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put in your information. Yes, of course I want your information. How can I get back with you, if I don't have your information, right? You're going to answer this. What do you turn to make you feel better? Right? Click on it. Then, what do you turn to after that? Oh, it's not letting me go through. Oh, it's because I have to answer a question. Oops. Are there certain times a day that you feel cravings and addictions? And you can mark all of them if you need to, or just one, but just to give you an idea. Okay, great. So which symptoms are affecting you? And go through them, just look at them. And just, it doesn't mean that all of them in that area, but at least something in that area is affecting you. And then we're going to hit the next button. Next. What'd you find about this? Because it's a really cool conference. And submit. That's it. And then when you get done, you can click on this to access a report. So you can click on it and just kind of look at it later. Not right now, because then you're not going to listen to what I have to say. Now I'm going to, there you go. Now, each of you also have this form, and it is a cheat sheet you could use while I'm talking, so you get an understanding of what this looks like. Talking about neurotransmitters, what happens when they're depleted, what you might be using to feel better, and how to feed the brain. All right, guys, this is where we get into the information. The information I'm going to give you are coming from 2 books. This one, Feed Your Brain, Change Your Life, Take Control of Your Brain, Body, Emotions. That is the book that I wrote. And obviously you can get it even in Spanish. So if you can read Spanish, buy that one. And 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain, Chemistry by Cristine Hull, where I actually have a chapter in there. That could be very helpful.
Lots of quotes. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's a great book. It is amazing. So together is where you're going to get this information. All right, guys, here we go. So here is the nuts and bolts of what you want you to learn. We're going to start with the brain. Amino acid therapy. You got these really cool chemicals of the brain: dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and endorphins. They're your happy, calm, feel good chemicals. And when they're firing, they are amazing. Along with your blood sugar, and I'll explain why blood sugar is in this area. But when they become depleted, when those chemicals become depleted, it may create symptoms and false moods. And when that happens, we turn to something to feel better, some type of substances, addictive behaviors to feel better. Well, when you can feed the brain what the brain is really missing, it helps to balance your brain. It may reduce those symptoms of false moods, may reduce cravings and addictions, creating a happy, healthy brain, which equals a happy, healthy human. So let's talk a minute. What is true emotions versus false moods? So in Julia Ross's book, Mood Cure, she talks about that some negative feelings are unavoidable and beneficial. Those are true emotions. That's called being human. Emotional imposters are biochemical errors, which are false moods. What is the difference? A true mood would be anger. Anger is a true mood. It's a true emotion. I said earlier that when I learned about this information, I got angry. And then I did something with it. So a true emotion's going to move you forward. A false mood keeps you stuck. What would be a false mood? Well, let's say you wake up in the morning and for no reason, you go out and you're kind of in a not in a good mood, and you tell your child to take the garbage out. Well, they don't. So then you get really angry and you explode, and a few hours later, you're still angry and you don't remember why. Another one is grief. Grief is a true emotion. When my dog died, my sweet dog died, I was heartbroken. And so what I do? I went got a new puppy. A false grief would be watching a commercial on TV and getting heart and feeling that grief and feeling more emotional than normal. It's somebody says something to you off the cuff and you take it personally. Those are just a couple examples of what a false mood is. There are counterfeit. So when these happen, a lot of times, like I said, we turn to something to feel better. Now there are counterfeits versus real solutions. And I thought this was great. Cristine says, for every substance that is commonly used and often that is abused, there's also a genuine way that the body actually creates for these neurotransmitters. And a lot of times they're mind-altering chemicals such as caffeine, alcohol, narcotics, tobacco, marijuana, sugar, and even some foods can be counterfeits. What are the, I've already told you what the neurotransmitters are, those really cool chemicals in the brain. And what causes them to become depleted? Well, sometimes you're born with less of them. So if you have a child that's struggling with anxiety, being anxious or uptight or worried, it could be that they're born with less of them. Sometimes it's lifestyle, it's toxins, it's diet, it's trauma, it's stimulants, caffeine, substances, medications. 60% of people over the age 40, and don't even get me started on what happens when you go through menopause. Actually, I'll tell you in a minute. So what feeds the neurotransmitters? Amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So you can either, some of them are essential, some are non-essential. So non-essential means that your body creates them. Essential means that the only way you can get them is through food or supplement. So your body already knows what to do with them. I get a lot of people say, well, why can't I just eat more protein, right? Because protein is where they come from. So like meat, why can't I just eat more meat? Well, the problem is once they become depleted, you can't eat enough to raise those neurotransmitters. But food's important. So we're going to eat protein, and then we're going to come in like a fire hydrant, and we're going to feed the brain what the brain needs. And the cool thing is as you do, the need for these amino acids go down, and then it is the protein that can support you and sustain you. Okay? So how to feed your brain and your body. It's not an either, an or, but it's a and. I'm not telling you to stop whatever you do and quit doing this to do this. No, if you're taking medications, if you've got to have a doctor, this is my disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't prescribe, I don't diagnose. I'm not against whatever you're doing, because sometimes that's the only option you are aware of. The one thing I will tell you that there is not a medication that can heal you, but it can take you out of that low spot. It just also takes you out of the high spot, right? I'm giving you an and, so that you can do what the brain needs to do, and that is to raise and balance those neurotransmitters. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use one that's called 5-HTP. 5-HTP and tryptophan, they help to feed serotonin. Serotonin follows light. You wake up in the morning, you're going to have the most amount of serotonin that you're going to have the rest of the day. As the day goes on, it's going to go down. So if you don't have enough to start with, you don't have much come afternoon and evening. And so then what happens is you may start craving some sugar, some caffeine, or not caffeine, but sugar and food. Could be tobacco, alcohol, marijuana. Those 5 kind of hit all of the neurotransmitters. The medications is going to be like the SSRIs, which is a selective serotonin re-up inhibitor, which is like Prozac or Celexa, things like that. SNRI, which is serotonin norepinephrine re-up inhibitors. And the drugs that come along with this would be like ecstasy and marijuana. Serotonin turns into melatonin, so when you don't have enough serotonin, you don't have enough melatonin, which makes it hard to go to sleep, to shut off those racing thoughts. Because when your serotonin is low, you might feel worry, depressed, anxious, OCD, perfectionism, anger, social anxiety. If you have like any food disorders or eating disorders, winter blues. We're headed into winter, guys, here in Utah. It gets dark early and we don't get out very early. And so serotonin naturally drops low in the winter, which is why winter blues becomes a big thing. Panic, phobias, all of those fit into low serotonin. So by taking 5-HTP and tryptophan, it can help to raise them. These are the only 2 you do want to be careful with if you're taking an SSRI or an SNRI, because what they're doing is they're artificially keeping serotonin in the synapse so that when you take some of these medications, you don't want to stack serotonin. If you are taking these ones, work with your doctor. Now, the funniest story I have on this one is, when 2020 happened, people became, well, it was in February, right? Which coming out of winter, and winter blues is a big thing, right? I said to myself, if I could give everybody in the world 5-HTP and tryptophan, it wouldn't have stopped the pandemic, but it may have stopped people from going out and buying all the toilet paper, right? Because you think about it, you're like, really? Toilet paper? That's what we were worried about? It's just kind of crazy to think about that, right? But what it does is it helps you to weather those storms of life. Then the next one we have is your dopamine. Dopamine, it's your energy. It's you're alive, you're awake, you have, excited for life. And when your dopamine is low, you crave something for stimulation, sugar, starches, caffeine, aspartame, could be tobacco, cocaine, meth. The medications are going to be Adderall, Ritalin, things like that, because your body is looking for something to give you stimulation, wake up your mind. Menopause and estrogen creates dopamine. Amazing why also you go through menopause and you're wondering why you have no energy or you can't focus. I have a weird thought, right? So by feeding the brain tyrosine, which is it keeps your energy sustained. So you're not spiking and crashing. You just feel like you're alive and you're awake. DLPA or endorphins make you happy. So the true endorphins is cozy, comfort, pleasure, euphoria. False is that you find yourself crying over a commercial, oversensitive. Anybody who self-harm, cutting, pulling your eyebrows out, biting your nails really loud, far down, biting your skin, anything that you do to cause pain, pornography. Your endorphins are your body's natural morphine. So when somebody cuts or does something or pornography, what happens is the instant somebody clicks on that pornography, it floods the body of those really great endorphins. And that's what the body's missing. Some of the other things that come along with that would be wanting to feel comfort, reward, or numbing. excessive social media, TV, exercise, gaming, gambling, pornography, self-harm, opiates, and heroin go along with that. Now back to the dopamine, just to give you an idea. So tyrosine turns into L-DOPA. L-DOPA turns into dopamine. Dopamine turns into norepinephrine, and norepinephrine turns into epinephrine. So on that end over here, you're hitting all of those stimulating feelings in the body. GABA. GABA is one of my favorite. So GABA is a neurotransmitter, and it's when your body is craving something to relax, calm down. When you feel uptight, overstressed, like a knot in your stomach, like you want to bite somebody's head off, that feeling, physical, could be that your GABA is low. And GABA stands for gamma amino.
Oh, I got it. Gamma amino butyric acid.
I knew it. I was just like, gamma amino butyric
It's a good
acid.
one.
Thank you. It's such a big, long word. Oh, my heavens. And GABA feeds GABA. And the crazy thing is, when I was learning about this, I thought, okay, why is GABA the name of the neurotransmitter and also the name of the amino acid? You want to know why? Well, first of all, 5-HTP is a precursor for serotonin. That means it has to convert into serotonin. Tyrosine is a precursor for dopamine. It has to convert into dopamine. GABA doesn't have to do anything. GABA goes right into GABA. That is why it works so fast.
I love GABA. And it's right there in the name, because it's right there. The A and the A are amino acid in the GABA.
GABA. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it helps you calm down very quickly and helps you to breathe. It is amazing. Now, just like I said, what are the drugs? And is going to be your benzodiazepines along with the other one. Okay. Now, what does blood sugar have to do with the brain? Right? Well, you have this thing right here. It's called the prefrontal cortex, right here. Its job is judgment. It's your reasoning. I'm going to make this choice, and this is the outcome. And what happens is, if we're skipping meals, we're eating sugar or starches, or drinking alcohol, this shuts off. You become irritable and irrational. Now, it can also shut off if you over-exercise. So if you excessively exercise, it depletes you of glutamine and glucose. If you utilize your brain a lot when you're working, it also reduces glutamine and glucose. So you could be working on the computer, and all of a sudden you skipped a meal because you're in a hurry, you got to get a project done, and all of a sudden your brain becomes fog, and you're like, I can't even think straight. I can't even figure out which keys to even tap on my computer. And your brain says, give me something and give it to me now. That's called a hypoglycemia. So your blood sugar crashes, and also the brain's like, oh no, you're in trouble, alert, alert. So then what it does is it causes us to usually something that's going to raise that blood sugar, right? And the problem is we don't just take a little bit, because if we could take some protein instead with a little bit, maybe like a little bit of a bun, it's going to raise it to where you need to. But we don't, because the brain's like, I'm in trouble. Alert, alert, right? So it puts off too much adrenaline, which causes us to crave. You take too much, it causes us to spike. Now we're up here and the brain's like, I'm in trouble, too much, too much. Puts off too much insulin, causes you to crash. So you're spiking and crashing and spiking and crashing and spiking and crashing. You want to keep your blood sugar level, right? It's important. It's important for your children. It's important for your teenagers. It's important for adults, but it's also important. It keeps somebody who wants to stay in sobriety, gives them the tools to stay sober. Because when it shuts off, that thought is, I don't care what the outcome is. I want what I want now. So we're going to feed the brain. We're going to feed the body. And how do you feed the body? Well, protein 3 times a day. If you can, 20 to 30 grams each time, at least 3 times a day. Non-negotiable. because protein feeds every single cell of your body. Water. Our body is mostly water. We need to eat water. I should have on here some good fats because your brain is 65% fat. So that is also important. Sunshine, movement. Get your body up and get going. All right, so if we take this in a glance, we've got the brain chemistry, you've got the neurochemical, you've got the function, you've got the what is imitated, the counterfeits, natural and real solutions. So you go through this. So like I said, dopamine actually goes into norepinephrine. And what that is it's your stimulant, energy, wakefulness, focus. The counterfeits would be caffeine, energy drinks, and amphetamines. And the solutions, alkaline diet, SAMe, intense exercise, high energy, music. GABA is a depressant, a relaxant, induces sleep. The counterfeits would be sleeping pills, alcohol, benzodiazepines. The natural solutions would be GABA, Benadryl, potassium, yoga, deep breathing, meditation. Serotonin, well-being, mood, stabilize, contentment. What is the counterfeit? Comfort food, SSRIs, marijuana, alcohol. 5-HT, the real solutions, 5-HTP, CalMag, Fizz, mindful, energy, eating, positive affirmations. I'd also add in there tryptophan. The endorphins, pain relief, euphoria, comfort, numbness. What can you use that is a counterfeit? Sugar, pain pills, narcotics, morphine. This is also where the gaming and the gambling and the pornography are going to fit into their social media. The real solution, high protein, vitamin D, theta waves, massage, spiritual highs, and I would also add in there DLPA, which is diphenylamine. Dopamine. Dopamine is your stimulant. It's your euphoria, your fantasy, your pleasure, your rush in life. The counterfeits would be chocolate, cocaine, high-risk behaviors, energy drinks, caffeine, aspartame, and DLPA, diphenylamine, L-tyrosine, engage your senses, passion for life, and vivid mindfulness. Yeah. So the good news is you can replenish them. So you can raise those neurotransmitters by proper nutrition, amino acids, stress management, mindsets, sleep, movement, and self-care. Your brain can heal when given the right support. And when it does, you finally feel in control. Maybe for the first time in years. So here's a couple of proven solutions. The amino acids these are specific amino acids that help to feed the brain at a physical level. This is my brand. And I'll talk about in a second why I like my product so much. But that's a physical one. Then we have the frequency formulas through Cristine Hull, which inform the brain on a quantum level. And when you have questions, I would say read her book and talk to Cristine because they're also.
Yeah, at the back of the book in 10 Ways to Balance Your Brain Chemistry, we do go into a little bit of detail about the quantum body because there's a bonus book called The 4 Bodies, 4 Medicines. So you'll learn more about it there.
So those are a couple proven solutions that work. So here we go. We're going to learn it. We're going to start here. You took the brain quiz, and the next thing is you're going to get your brain food. You can go to my website, hypnoaminos.com, and you're going to get them. On the back of the sheet, it shows you what the amino acid therapy is. Also, there are precautions, just like I said before. 5-HTP and tryptophan. You want to make sure that you don't take them at the same time as a medication. And there are some other precautions to be aware of. Why do I like my amino acids so much? Because not all supplements are created the same. Mine are 100% natural. They're vegan. They're non-GMO. They're gluten-free. They have no stearic acids. What is stearic acid? Stearic acid is a flow agent that they use to produce these so that the raw materials can go through the machines. But stearic acid doesn't leave your body. So if you look on the back of your your bottles and it says magnesium stearate, calcium stearate, whatever that is, they don't leave your body. Now, the manufacturers will argue that, well, it's just a teeny bit. But if you're taking it in this capsule, and this capsule, and this capsule, and this capsule, and this capsule, it can add up over time and people become very sensitive to it. So this is how you take back your life today. One of my clients said, the amino acids are a godsend. All right, so we've done this. We've taken the quiz. We got the amino acids. The next one is how hypnotherapy. So we've got brain, body, and emotions. All right, here we go. How to feed and change your thoughts. The power of the mind, the power of hypnosis. Stop putting a Band-Aid on your symptoms. Get to the root of the problem. And the problem, you get rid of the problem. My goal is to take the scary out of hypnotherapy, taking the no out of hypnosis. A lot of people have really crazy ideas of what it is and what it is not. So I'm going to tell you what it is not first. Not mind control, not mind reading. If I could read somebody's mind, I'd read my husband's. I've been married to for 40 years, but I doubt it. If I could have controlled somebody's mind, I'd have controlled my daughters when they were teenagers. If you have teenagers, you had teenagers, you know exactly what I mean. There is no mind control. What is it? Hypnosis is hyper-focused, right? You're actually more in control in a hypnotic state than you are at any other time. And it's like levels, right? So you're awake, first level down. Have you ever driven somewhere and you get there and you go, I do not know how I got here? That's a hypnotic state. Or, you know, that feeling with, you know, you're on your phone and you're so here and somebody's calling your name and you don't even hear them. That's a hypnotic state. We go in and out of it throughout the day. So first level, you're awake, you're going down. This is where it's called walking hypnosis. Next level down is where meditation happens. Third level down is where hypnosis happens. It's where the conscious, you got about 5% of your thought process, maybe 10. And your subconscious about 85%. Your conscious is every, I got to get up, I got to get dressed, I got to, this is my goal. This is my what I want to happen. The subconscious, every memory, belief, emotion that you have from here back to forever. Some call it spirit, some call it a soul. Now, y'all been around a little child and you've seen them and you can, between their ages 2 and 7, you can tell them every story, any story, and they'll believe you. But not every story that they're told is true. But that's what makes them so fun. Well, your subconscious also believes every story it accepts as truth. And yet, not every story it accepts is true. But the problem is your subconscious job is to keep you safe and protected. When it's trying to keep you safe and protected from a false story, that's where the problem is. Now, in between them, about age 7 years old, there becomes a filter right here. This filter filters out things that we don't believe is true. So it kicks it out. The challenge is we don't always know what's over here on subconscious. Because it could have been a story that was put there as a child when there was no filter to filter it out. Quick example, you take a little child between the ages of 5 and 7, and they're in school, and they love to answer questions, and they're raising their hand, raising their hand, raising their hand. Let's say they raise their hand, and they answer, and the kids laugh. And they're like, oh, now they could have been laughing at the kid. They could have not been laughing at the kid. But that moment, the kid goes, I'm embarrassed. It's not safe for me to speak. This little story develops when there's no filter that says, it's embarrassing to speak in front of people. It's not safe. So that filter develops and they don't know it's there. They just know that they are not going to speak in front of people. So they get into high school and they have to create a speech and they're like, I'd rather get an F. I will not speak. It's not safe, right? Because the subconscious comes and says, no, you don't want to do that. It's embarrassing, right? But thought comes up, imagination takes over, spirals into the past. That's where depression comes from. Also wasted energy. So I'm going to teach you one thing today. Is the only place you have any power is in the present moment. Right here, right now. That's where your courage, your love, your joy, your happiness, your bravery, your talents are in the present moment. Problem is you've allowed us to spell the future and in the past, and you're missing the present moment. If I asked you right this very second, you may have lots going on in your life, but this very second, are you fine? I would say, yeah, right? So if it starts to spiral into the future, nope, this very second, I am fine. Spiral in the past, nope, this very second, I am fine. The more you do it, the easier it will get. Bring yourself into the present moment. Find something you can see, something you can hear, something you can taste, something you can smell, something you can touch, because those things are in the present moment. And that brings you back to that present moment. That is the power of your mind. Okay? So what does hypnotherapy have to do with the chemistry of the brain? Well, a small child lacking the full capacity to express how they feel, buries their thoughts and emotions and the things they're going through somewhere in the body. And then later, that buried energy can cause mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual havoc. Early trauma or strong emotional events are not fully integrated. They can lodge in the nervous system and the body's tissue in the psychic and emerge later as a blockage, an illness, an emotional reactivity, a spiritual disconnect. So when a strong event, trauma, grief occurs, the brain takes that snapshot of that event, and then every time you recall it, the body releases the same chemicals that happened again and again. So in that way, your body is anchored to that past emotion. That's the power of our mind. So what do we do? Our thoughts are so powerful, right? The thoughts are out here. Here you have a mind. Your mind is just a gland, right? And these thoughts, if you're consistently in feeding these negative thoughts in the brain, they go in the brain, they change the chemicals in the brain, and they go down somewhere in the body. That's why it can cause illnesses. That's why it can cause sicknesses. That's why it can increase that anxiety, that feeling. So when you can get to that problem, figure out what it is, where it is in the body, where it is in your time frame, that's when you can change the chemicals in the brain and start to heal the body. It's crazy. Because you see, it's like a child. Let's say a child's going through life and something happens here. And it blocks the energy. And then they keep going and that blocks again. And they don't have to deal with that. So they keep that emotion in there and then they keep going, right? So they've got this blocked energy. And it's literally like that 5-year-old is now running your life. So you wake up in the morning, you have anxiety. Well, that 5-year-old's like, oh my gosh, I got to get up. I got to get going. Right now, that 5-year-old's trying to live in a 20-year-old's body. Got to get up, got to go to work, got to go to school. I got to get dressed. And anxiety just increases because it's like that little child's running the show. And they don't have the ability. But as an adult, you have the ability. And you've gone through everything you've ever gone through. And guess what? You survived 100%. So now in hypnosis, what we want to do is take older, wiser adult and figure out what was that original thing that happened or where is in the body so that the aha comes to the subconscious that, wait a minute, I am wiser, I am smarter, I can handle this. And we heal that little child, give it a voice so that now adult person can handle the situation. That's the power of hypnosis. Now, the crazy thing is you can do lots of crazy, awesome things with hypnosis. I've helped people, cheerleaders, trying out for cheerleading. I've helped football players and a baseball player and somebody that's a skeet shooter. I don't even know how to skeet shoot. I don't have to know how to skeet shoot because you do. And your body does, right? So because your body knows how to do whatever it is you want to do, we just got to get the brain out of the way and become here instead of back here. Because this is your prefrontal cortex. This is where you're living in the present moment. Back here, you're in all your memories, right? So when somebody's getting up to do something and all of a sudden they react, It's because they're back here, right? Subconscious wants to keep them safe. My very favorite story is I had a lady come to me, and she came to me the first week. And then, which was fine. It was just a session. It wasn't anything like earth-shattering. She came to me the next week, and she said, "This isn't a good week. I shouldn't be here. I wanted to cancel, but it was too late notice." And I'm like, what's going on? She says, "Well, it's my daughter's birthday." And now I sit back and thinking, what does your daughter's birthday have to do with you and your hypnosis session? And she says, because my daughter died 3 days after she was born. She's 17, and every single time her birthday comes around, I can't handle those 3 days. So I eat too much, sleep too much, drink too much, party too much. This is not going to be a good day to me. I said a really quick prayer, and I said, actually, this could be the best day of your life. And I was like, where did that come from? Oh my gosh. And then I'm thinking back going, what am I going to do here? So I get her in hypnosis, and she's doing really well. And I want to take her around the situation, because a lot of times in hypnosis, instead of going through it backwards, you're going through it forward. So you bring them back to before the situation and go through it. Well, for her, she wouldn't. She just kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And that's a disconnect, right? That's the subconscious saying, I'm keeping you safe, and I'm not going back there. So each time she get close to that death date, it was, I don't know, I don't know. And I was thinking and doing whatever I could. And I said to her, tell me about your baby. And she went, what? She said, tell me about your baby. I said, your baby lived for 3 days. Tell me about your baby. And she went, oh my gosh. I've been so focused on her death, I forgot to focus on her life. And that was the aha that changed 17 years instantly. That's the power. And she said to me, I'm going to start celebrating my baby. And 1 year later, I received a text from her saying, today's my baby's birthday, and I'm celebrating my baby. That's power. All right, so here we go. What do you do next? Change life, you start changing others. Take the amino acid class to learn about how to add this in your practice, or enroll in my certified hypnotherapy school. That way you can start changing lives also. I had people ask me, what happened to your daughter? And I used to tell them, you know what? I didn't think she lived to be 30 or ever get married. Last year, she got married June 27th. August 24th, she turned 30. And now we're expecting a baby pumpkin that's coming in May.
That's so exciting.
That's so
I
fun.
love it.
So
She's got such a great success story.
isn't that great?
Totally love it.
Love it.
Yay.
There you go. Life matters. Your life matters.
Yes. It all matters. And I'm so glad. I mean, it's hard when your kids go through hard things, but it motivates moms to do big
Yes.
things.
Moms do big things.
Like you, you're doing big things.